Some few years back, I was still new to the crayfish selling business. I had zero knowledge of how it worked, and the money I had put into the business would soon evaporate with the wind. Tough times hit hard, and I was given the choice of traveling to Riverside to get my supplies. Many advised it was more profitable, so as an Igbo man, anything that would bring more gain to my business, I was willing to try out. After saving up some cash, I planned a trip to one of the watersides in the south. Even though it was a business trip, I also viewed it as an adventure to see new environments that I hadn't been privileged to experience. I didn't know how to cast a net or talk more of catching a fish, so my hope rested on some of the locals for assistance. Whilst en route to the location, we had to switch to using a canoe, and I was asked to ditch any jewelry I was having on. At first, I was confused. Why should I do that? I questioned in my naivety. We don't want you troubling the waters while we are on the journey, one of the locals replied. I gently tucked away my wrist bangle and finger rings, but my necklace, I left it on my neck instead and tucked it into my shirt to conceal it from the locals. Oh, had I known! We had gone far deep into the water when a mighty sound echoed from within. It sounded like an angry woman talking from the water. I looked out and the water surface vibrated violently, then stopped. The men in the canoe exchanged looks of surprise with each other. Mister, do you have anything that's making the water spirit angry? One of the locals asked me. Water spirit quoi? I thought to myself before I answered. No, oh, nothing, I lied through my teeth. We wanted to continue our journey, but then again, the voice arose from the water. This time it violently shook the canoe as a thunderbolt struck the tail out of nowhere. We were drowned in fear as blood started flowing into the canoe. The locals cried out loud as they pleaded with the voice speaking. I was looking around, searching for the voice, but all I saw was more turbulent water. Throw him overboard, the locals cried out. As they advanced toward me, I was trying to maintain my balance as I grasped the edges of the canoe tight. The locals grabbed me, ignoring my plea for mercy, and they flung me into the violent water. I struggled to stay afloat as I flapped my hands, but something stronger and something strange was pulling me beneath the water. The winds were violent, thunderbolts lighted up the sky, and then a loud screech came from the water. I watched as the canoe paddled to safety. I called out and cried out to them in fear, "Save me. I'm sorry," but the men answered me with silence. I had been submitted to a cruel fate as a tear dropped from my eye. Finally admitting my mistake, I tore the necklace from my neck and dropped it into the water. I knew it was too late for repentance, but maybe whatever forces were in the water would have mercy on me, and maybe they did, because as soon as the necklace went underwater, the violence calmed. It was getting dark, the sun was setting as I swam for a distance before I started hearing voices. Female voices. At first, it sounded like they were singing, but I couldn't tell the song they sang. The melody was alluring. I looked up ahead and saw a rock in the middle of the water. On the rock sat a woman, and it appeared she was the one singing the sweet melody. Just her. She had multiple voices coming out from her lips. I was gripped with more fear. You could tell the joy in her voice with each lyric as she sang in a language I couldn't understand. I was a distance away from her, but I could make out that she wasn't human. Not entirely though. She had an almost human head with brunette hair that was thick and curled like seaweed. Her skin was pale and a bit luminescent, with some follicles of her hair webbed to her skin. I've heard hundreds of stories of mermaids, and this was no mermaid. She had 6 webbed fingers on each hand with claws on them, and thorns protruded, forming her vertebrae column. I couldn't tell what her front side looked like because she backed me. I tried to be as quiet as possible not to alert whatever creature this was. Slowly and as quietly as possible, I swam across, and then, luckily I saw land. My heart was saturated with joy. Finally, I could get out of this damned water. Before I could get to the bank, something light brushed my shoulders and sent a shiver down my spine. I could feel an eerie presence behind me. I didn't want to turn, but I had to. There was no other choice. As I slowly turned, this creature was there staring at me face to face. Her eyes spelled darkness with pitch-black eyeballs. She had not a nose, but her lips were as red as blood. At this time, the sky had stolen the last glimpse of sunlight, so everywhere was dark, but somehow this creature glowed. You have to hear the last melody before dinner, the creature gently said to me with a soothing voice. I was frozen with fear. I tried to speak, but I couldn't hear my voice. I slowly backed away from the creature, and this got it angry. You must hear the last melody. Everyone hears the last melody. She shouted with anger, which made the water start to boil. Suddenly, I felt a hand arrest me and pin my hands to my ribcage. All efforts to move were abortive. I was stuck. Just by my left, a head came out from the water, gradually followed by the face of another creature that looked exactly like the one singing. More heads with the face of the creature singing came up from the water. With my eyes I took count, and they numbered 20 with all their eyes staring at me. These are my sisters, and we would like to host you for the night, the creature said with a gentle tone again. Then it suddenly changed as it continued, but if you refuse our courteous offer, this will be your fate. Whatever force was holding me hostage in the water then turned me around to the bank of the water. There I saw a man sitting lifeless on a log. His tongue was out. His black eyes had gone up, and his abdomen was completely eviscerated with his intestines dumped beside him. His blood was still fresh, meaning this fatality was dealt with recently. The horrendous sight left a lump in my throat as I gulped down hard. I had no option than to comply, or I'd be in the realm of the underworld before dawn. This will be the longest night of my life if I survive, I thought to myself. These creatures surrounded me, and the one I initially saw finally introduced herself as Olamuki. She touched my forehead. Her hands were cold as ice, but I could finally understand the language they spoke. They began to sing. They sang a song about a sailor who was deserted in the sea because of his big casket of gold jewelry, and they rescued him only to crown him a king in their kingdom. Would you like to see our kingdom? Olamuki asked me after they were done with the song. God, please no. I just want to go home, I pleaded, but she laughed. They all laughed instead. You invited us here, why do you refuse our courtesy? She asked. I was confused. Invited them how? Why would I wish this upon myself? Please, I pleaded. Olamuki laughed hard again, then the smile wiped off her face as a menacing look took over. Your necklace made you an invitee. You must partake in this communion, she said as they all joined hands and pulled me under the water.